Hey, welcome to the show. Today I'm talking about the budget. Last night they passed the new 2-year budget plan, which has $300 billion in additional spending, 160 billion of it going to the military over 2 years, 120 billion going to domestic programs like hurricane relief. They kept the $7,500 tax credit for electric cars, provided that the company has sold less than 200,000 cars. This is quite interesting because it's going to hit Tesla really, really hard once they hit that number. So currently the deficit, we pay $266 billion on the deficit every year. 226 billion, and we have to borrow over $1 trillion every year, and they just voted to expand the military. We can't afford this. A small rise in interest rates could easily increase that payment to $600 or $800 billion a year in interest, basically snowballing us out of control with the debt and no way to cut enough to bring it back. So we're basically talking about the need to cut our spending by almost a third. That's a huge amount. So what can we do? I think that if you look at our role for the military, it's to be able to foster 3 or 4 battle groups with aircraft carriers, multiple places around the world at the same time, as well as defend all of Europe, as well as fight for Syria and fight for Afghanistan. This is crazy. We don't have the money for this. But they act like it's not a problem. It is a problem. It's a huge issue for our nation. We could have complete collapse because of this. Our dollar, even if it doesn't collapse, our dollar could get dramatically weaker, making everything incredibly expensive. So there's a big troubles, and I don't know how to convince people. Paul gave a 3 or 4 hour speech last night talking about fiscal conservation and conservative principles and how to not go down this path of endless spending. I think there's some hope though, because maybe with everything Trump is doing, I won't talk about what he's not doing in this one, but if the economy grows at a 5% rate, and they actually then begin to clamp down on spending, maybe there's a way out of this. But I don't think there is without direct printing of currency by the US Treasury. And that's a big affront to the bankers, so we'll end up seeing who's really in control. There's no way we can cut enough to pay down the debt, but if we could get to a neutral point, say by growing 25% in tax revenue and decreasing 20% in spending, then we could actually issue dollars directly to pay off redeeming bonds at about 400 billion, 500 billion a year, and that would take the debt slowly back down to zero, and hopefully then we've learned our ways. How much war budget do we need? Europe sits idly by, spends very little on defense. Their citizens get 8-week vacations, they get free healthcare, they get free education to PhD level, they get 9-month or 1-year family leaves for pregnancy, male, father and mother. So why are we paying for their luxuries? Trump has called them out on it, but nothing happens. And I think it's important that, really what we should do is just not close our bases in Europe, but basically bring them all down to maintenance staff. And the other thing that's very concerning is the war in Syria, because we had our first skirmish with pro-Assad Russian troops who are legally allowed to be in Syria, and then the American troops who are guarding the oil fields near Raqqa and who aren't allowed to be there. And our American troops are working side by side with the radical jihadis, the crazy Muslims, and trying to overthrow Assad. So now that ISIS is destroyed, the two armies are going to start turning on each other and have another proxy war just like North and South Korea. This is not at all what we want to be blowing our dollars on. The military, we have to accept that we can't keep doing what we've been doing. And the military says, well, we don't have enough bombs anymore. We used them all. We don't have enough airplanes or parts. So we're hopelessly underfunded. Well, they're hopelessly underfunded in their mission to rule the world. And one of the reasons why the dollar has this hegemonic role of world reserve currency is because we are the army of the world. I think it's still important that we get involved if there's a crisis or if there's something very important. I still think we should have troops at the ready, but we have to pull back. We have to cut back. We have to, going from a $700 billion military, which is really $1 trillion in military because you have to add all the other departments. I think going down to 400 billion is not the end of the world. It just means we can't have as many new toys, we can't have as many carrier groups, we can't have as many soldiers. And why don't we put it into developing the kinds of weapons that we like to use? How about a bigger, more powerful cruise missile than the little guys that we use that don't have to fit on a submarine, but maybe that could be big enough to fit on the deck of a destroyer or something, so that we can actually launch power wherever we need it without endangering ourselves. The debt is a drag on our economy. America is this old, dark, sooty, crumbling economy. And as long as we don't have a solution to the debt, it just keeps dragging us down, dragging our efficiency, dragging dollars away. So I think that's a big deal. I also want to talk about this article that came out that listed the percentage of foreign-born in Silicon Valley, San Francisco, and Seattle. The number was over 70% foreign-born for Silicon Valley, over 50% foreign-born workers in tech for San Francisco, and over 40% foreign-born workers in tech in Seattle. So we've basically thrown our best and brightest engineers into the streets, abandoned them, left them for dead, kicked them in the teeth, and we've been doing this now for 21 years, since the mid-90s. I don't understand this. I don't know why Trump doesn't understand this. I don't know why Congress doesn't understand this. We've had 3 GAO studies that show that all these people are fraudsters with fake degrees, fake resumes. They're cheaters, they're scum, and the companies that think they're saving money aren't even saving money. It's just all a game. It's just all a game. You don't save money when your product never gets delivered. Nobody cares because they think it's an affirmative action thing. They think hiring brown people is somehow a good thing, and throwing Americans in the streets is fine as long as they're hiring brown to do it. This is a progressive Marxist Kalergi plan, psychotic imbecility that is beyond belief. And, I think the engineers just sort of throw up their hands and go, 21 years of this? F you. F you. We're done. We're done. F you. What can you say after 21 years of such suffering? What can you say when the government doesn't give a piss about you for 21 years after endless letters and screaming and rage, and they're just like, well, we don't care because brown people, we don't care. So I don't know. I think Trump talks a lot about entrepreneurship, but when all the entrepreneurs can't earn money to start companies because they're all lost their jobs over and over again. And even if you get a job, you get everything working. Is once everything works and you've busted your butt and you're hoping to stay there for a couple of years and at least have a non-exhaustive, non-100-hour week kind of work schedule. No, then the Indians and the Chinese and the Pakistanis move in and they're like, okay, we take it now that all the hard work is done. Now we take your jobs. It's ridiculous. It should be illegal. Also, they are now beginning to talk about DACA and giving all these invaders citizenship. Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your goddamn mind? These are criminals. I don't care that their mothers carried them in. It's a group package. It's a criminal family that shouldn't be here. And, of course, the Democrats want the Dawkins to turn around and give their parents citizenship through chain migration. And this is why they're so outraged that people are insisting on reducing chain migration to spouses and children. So, this is another thing where Trump has just gone off the rails. And he just wants to be a lovable grandfather, but you can't be. You've got to be tough. I thought Trump was tough. Why is he such a pushover on DACA? We shouldn't give an inch on DACA. And you know what? I think for a lot of his supporters, if the wall never got funded because he wouldn't give an inch on DACA, I think we'd support him. I think we'd support him and just go, well, we got to get another 10 senators in there. They can change that rule, but I think they're terrified to do it because they know that soon they'll be in the minority and they want to have their say in their fight. What's going to happen to our country? I really feel like the Trump effort is failing and that we see already the stock market is starting to shake up. I think the jobs report numbers are fake. They talk about, these are the lowest numbers ever. Yeah, that's because you've got 92 million people out of the workforce. They're all already unemployed and not counted. These aren't the best unemployment numbers ever. These are a horror show. This is like end of the world. Everyone acts like everything is normal. Things are not normal. Look at the home ownership rates. They're the lowest they've ever been. This is not a prosperous nation. Look at the malls that we have. The city I'm in has no mall. It's a 1 million person city. It has no mall. They've all closed. They're all gone. I look at other countries like Thailand where 1 million or even a 500,000 person city has 6 or 8 or 10 gleaming brand new giant glistening malls, people shopping and spending money. That's what a healthy country looks like. We look like a depressed death ball, a horror. I think about our food. I look around where I am and there's nowhere to eat. I can't get any real food anywhere. There's just old vegetables in grocery stores and maybe a long drive to Whole Foods to get extremely overpriced food, which is where the rich people shop. I think America's in big trouble. I think that the Freedom Caucus has to stand up. They never should have gone along with the vote. At the end of the day, you have to say, okay, America is dead. it's time to leave. Time to make your way in a country that doesn't treat you like crap, where you can get fresh, healthy food, where people are decent to each other. I can't imagine America continuing much longer. I think that we're going to have a debt crisis. They're determined to get interest rates up, which is good, but you can't do that without simultaneously lowering the debt. So, I don't know what else to say. It's just been more of the same. There's no arrests of Hillary. Where's Hillary's arrest? Why don't they indict her? They have enough charges just on her deleting the 33,000 emails to put her in jail and not give her bail. And then while she's fighting that charge, we can get the other charges together. They don't bring any charges, though. And it's because Sessions is sleeping. Rosenstein is a criminal. He's in on the game. He signed off on the FISA warrant. So if he's corrupted, we don't have anyone to specify special counsel, because if the inspector tries to set one up, Rosenstein can overrule it. So the Clintons get away scot-free. They get to laugh with their 150 or 300 million, billion, whatever they took, and live in fancy condos in New York City and have their own private jets, and they just laugh. They just laugh at our stupidity. That's why they're as corrupt as they are, because they never got caught and they kept doing it more. They even killed people. Nobody cares. That's really the state of America right now. And I think DACA's really the end of it for support for Trump. If they support this DACA, they're going to get destroyed in the midterms. They're going to get destroyed because all the Trump people are not going to go out and vote. They're just going to go, well, we got betrayed again. Screw it. I'm not participating. And that's that. All right. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Check out all the news at patriotmouse.com and consider supporting the channel and becoming a Patreon. We really appreciate your support.